and making sure really that anyone who wants to ask us any questions today, the whole point of an AMA is really so that we get a chance to interact and you can directly talk to us. Anything you're thinking about to do with alternative health, we'll try and answer. Now, we did put this onto our email and onto ADIO a few days ago, and we asked for any in advance questions, and we were inundated by them. So we're going to try and get through as many as possible, but please still feel free to ask us any in the chat, and at the same time, we'll try and get through them.
Yeah, and we'll answer any we don't get to on the hub afterwards in the groups for you in little summaries to try and get through pretty much all the questions if we can.
Okay, so we're going to start with a few questions. So this one's actually very good for this time of year. And that is, I always seem to get lots of colds and coughs at this time of year. What can I do to try and stop myself from getting sick or to boost my immune system?
I think the easiest way to boost your immune system is to is to work on the factors that affect it the most. And those are stress, sleep, and too much sugar a lot of the time. And I think sleep, it's trying to make sure you get to bed early and on time. And also that you hibernate a bit more in winter, so you sleep a bit longer if you can. Try and move a bit more in the dark times, going to bed earlier, and also reduce your stress where you can. So doing some of our mindfulness videos, our yoga videos will help you with that. Going for a walk and trying to do a bit of life balance reorganizing to improve things. And alongside that, you can also look at the supplements that would help.
Yeah, I would also say at this time of year is trying to also forgive yourself a little bit. We are in January, and we all expend far too much energy in December. We do a lot of socializing. We do a lot of prep. We do run ourselves down. And I always think January is a time just to actually allow yourself to consolidate your energy a little bit. It's okay to spend a bit more time resting, a bit more time just looking after your health. This month is important. The reason we tend to get coughs and colds in January is because we think we should still keep going at that 1,000 miles an hour that we're doing in December. And I would say just slow down, just take a month just for yourself really in January.
And listen to the seasons. And I think the supplements that can really help are vitamin D, clearly very important this time of year. And I think you can get your levels checked at the doctor, which will help you work it out. You want to keep it above 70 rather than above the 50 that they say. And you can take a supplement about 4,000 IU. We encourage you to combine it with K because that's safer and better for you. Also, they show you absorb it better. Interestingly, you also show you absorb vitamin D better when you take magnesium. And also look at your normal immune ones like vitamin C, but actually zinc is a much lesser known, but actually just as important as vitamin C in keeping your immune system strong. So you can consider supplements with both of those too and increasing the foods that have them in.
Perfect. So a great summary at this time of year to boost your immune system and to be careful of those colds is to watch your sleep, to make sure your stress levels are nice and low, to work on some supplements, and at the same time also try and lower your sugar intake. So on to the next question now, and that is, my daughter is doing Veganuary. What vitamins should I make sure she is getting or that she might be lacking? So that's the vegan month, isn't it?
So I think, we've talked a lot about this actually at ADIO recently to say that whilst we don't have, plant-based is fine to try and do a vegan diet and it's individual for everybody. I think I have a little bit of an issue with the fact that this comes up in January, the Veganuary, because January is a month when we're run down anyway. It's also a month when we're trying to do seasonal eating. Seasonally, there aren't a lot of plant foods around. So actually we end up putting a lot of food miles on things, importing them all from other countries. So I kind of prefer Veganuary to be in September, but we'll ignore that one and say that we are omnivores by nature. So there are certain nutrients that we do need to get from animal products. And if we can't, we have to supplement them. So if you're going to do pure vegan, not vegetarianism, which might be a middle ground for you to consider, then you need to think about B12 and iron, which most vegans and vegetarians are aware they need to supplement. And these can really lower your energy levels, so they're worth working on. But the other thing to look at, particularly for brain health and cognitive function, is not to let your DHA, a type of omega-3 levels drop. And that those could come from fish primarily. And I know there are algae supplements, but we're not sure how well they work. So I think it's thinking, would I be willing to take a fish-based omega-3 during that time to keep my DHA levels high? Or just for a month, it shouldn't cause a huge drop. But if you find you're struggling with brain function, that might be worth looking at. And lastly, there's L-carnitine, a very important protein that's in meats and those meat-based products, and that helps us with our energy. So it's important for our energy chain. So again, I'd say that short bursts of plant-based fully are very beneficial to getting the diversity of microbiome, eating loads of unprocessed foods. But doing this long term, you have to think carefully about the nutrients that we need so that we don't get run down and low in things that are essential.
Yeah, and I also find my patients who also do Veganuary, they can struggle a little bit more with their joint problems. We're already quite stiff in January, so you tend to find that we get a lot more aches and pains during this plant-based month. So I would always say, if you're willing, add a collagen supplement in, just something that would help with your cartilage, help you basically feel looser at this time.
If you want to do purely plant-based, the other option is to use something called living silica. Though again, it's not certain that works as well as collagen, but it's an option if you don't want to do that.
Yeah, perfect. So on to the next question, which is, why can I never stick to my New Year's resolutions? Oh, that's a good one.
Well, I think this is actually where we need Katie, because Katie, my health coach, is an essential member of my team. And that's because she is someone who can help you work out what's blocking you and how to take those steps to get to your goals. And I think health coaching has been shown in evidence to be incredibly beneficial for those goals that we make. And there are lots of different ways to do coaching, but I think it's breaking them down to manageable steps. It's working out if there are any barriers that are stopping you getting there. And I think we like some visualization affirmations to help us with it. Rather than a goal, we like to set an affirmation, kind of like something positive we say to ourselves every day that's going to get us in the right place to think about why we want to do a goal and how we want to get there.
I also think it's actually the naming of it, and that is New Year's resolution makes me focus on it for maybe 1 or 2 weeks. By this point now, I'm already thinking, well, New Year's is over, that was done. I personally prefer to call them affirmations. I know I go through mine 3 to 4 times a day, and it's just something that we do all year round. So I think actually sometimes it's just reframing what they're called and just having a little go at them every single day. And what you'll find is they already start to kind of do themselves in the background. That's really what you're wanting. It's just that focus, really.
Yeah, and it sounds a bit voodoo, but if you look at your immune system actually listens to your thoughts. We can show some research that shows you having negative thoughts and thought patterns, then actually that's affecting your immune health and suppressing your immune system. And actually using gratitude and practices like that can boost your immune function. So it does make a difference what's going through your head regularly.
Yep. Perfect. So the next question, if I was to quit one unhealthy habit this year, what should it be? Only one.
It's difficult. Okay. How about make your food from scratch? Because I think that actually covers a lot of them. If you make your food from scratch, and that means you don't buy everything in packets, try as often as you can to make all those meals from just their base ingredients, the things that came from nature, the vegetables, the butter, the meat, and you do that from scratch, then it means you take out automatically, you lower your sugar, automatically you lower your inflammatory oils, and you get rid of additives and processed food, and it encourages you to have more nutrients in that food. So I think that's my make it from scratch.
Yeah, I think that was a great one.
What's your one?
Oh, I was tricky. I knew you were going to ask me that as well. I would pick something very back pain related. I would say don't sit as much, please. Get up every half an hour. That's it. Just get up every half an hour. Even for 30 seconds. Go get a glass of water. Anything you want to do. Just get up every half an hour.
It makes you feel so much better. It's interesting since we've had the puppies, because we've been walking so much. I feel so much better for just not I have to break my computer time doing audio and other things. I have to break it now with a dog walk, and I feel like a different person. It's really interesting.
But also every 30 minutes or so, you do continue to look at them. And it's amazing. Just that concentration break. When you come back to it, you're fresh again.
Yeah.
Actually, they've already shown that actually if you do interrupt your work every 30 minutes, even for just a minute or so, your productivity goes up. Yeah. And you would never notice that loss of time.
Just walk around your house. If you're working from home, just walk around your house. You can set timers on your computer, and that actually is more beneficial to you sometimes than lots of hours of exercise in the gym, which aren't counteracted if you're sitting all day. That itself is a risk factor, whether you exercise or not.
On to the next one. Do you want to ask this one?
Why do my joints always get more inflamed in cold weather? Sounds like I should.
Perfect. So there are multiple factors to this. The first one is the fact that you've changed your diet. Without realizing it, because it's gone colder, you have eaten more sugar. You're probably eating more stodgy foods. You are changing your vitamins and minerals at this time of year. There's also the fact that your joints are all surrounded by joint fluid. I always like to think of it a bit like coconut oil. My coconut oil in the middle of winter is bright white and quite stiff. In the middle of summer, it's completely loose and looks like liquid. Our joint fluid is very similar. When we're nice and warm, it's nice and warm and it moves nice and easily. When we're more cold, it's more sticky. And so we find we're more stiff. Our joints get more inflamed because you're forcing them to move. It really is just as simple in winter, really, just to do more of a warm up. Before you go out and do anything, just spend a bit more time getting yourself ready. In the morning when you get out of bed, you are just cold. So move around your house, go and have a hot drink, warm yourself up. And then as soon as you do that, you'll think, oh, actually, my joints feel much better now.
It's a very Chinese medicine answer, that. I think that they believe the cold blocks things too. And I think they can use ginger and things to help the circulation, which actually turned out to be an anti-inflammatory when you study it. So I think that keeping your circulation going, saunas, we're quite keen on as well. I was
thinking that back in my head. I was thinking, personally, I'd go and sit in a sauna.
Yes. Saunas are a great way to work on your joint pain in winter. I think that will help you. Yes, and then you can use your anti-inflammatories like turmeric, like boswellia. They can be really good too.
It really is just making sure also that you, when you are thinking of changing your diet at this time of year, change it into things that are more healthy. Personally, I go much more into soup-based things, and I still think soup is a bad word. I used to hate soup a few years ago, but I make now very, very nourishing, very bone broth and vegetable soups, and I gravitate towards them at this time of year. The second we start getting into the warmer weather, I start going, oh, I don't want soup anymore. Let's go back into salad. And it's trying to eat that seasonal, that changing, nourishing levels, but things that don't require so much breaking down, lots of steamed vegetables, things that you don't have to work particularly hard to absorb all the nutrients. So you're not expending all that energy.
And I think, so in summary, we would get you to, we'd say that cold kind of solidifies everything. It makes it hurt. It makes it inflamed. You can improve it with your circulation and with movement and with saunas and with warming foods and some natural anti-inflammatories. Yeah, things like turmeric and boswellia, which is frankincense. So yeah.
Perfect. Next one. I think I may be perimenopausal. What are the symptoms?
It's probably one of the most common questions I get asked, actually, by women. I think perimenopause is considered to be any time when the hormones start to change. And for a lot of women, that's somewhere between about 35 and before they go through full menopause. And menopause isn't defined until 2 years after you stop your period, so it can be tricky to work out exactly when that is. But we often find our hormones just get a bit more vulnerable, really. I think I noticed that stress and other things, I'm 40, so I find that stress and other things knock my periods off now where it didn't. So I think it's just that they're more sensitive during that time. So you're just a bit more vulnerable. You can find that your period cycle alternates a bit. Occasionally you can skip a cycle. We show that every now and then you'll have what they call an anovulatory cycle, a cycle where you don't ovulate, and that can make the period odd and it can make it shorter or longer. And that happens very rarely when you're young, but as you get a bit older, it starts to happen more and more frequently. And when you get to 40, it's happening much more frequently. So I think that then can make your period seem a little bit more erratic. And I think most of us will notice that the period quality changes. If we get stressed, I think it has much more impact on you as you get closer to menopause. And actually, stress and menopausal symptoms have a very close correlation. So perimenopause is a time when we see some of those menopausal symptoms, sometimes sleep disturbance, hot flushes, erratic periods. Increased PMS is a common one. And I think it's a time to work on our stress levels, work on our hormone balance. And again, our diet, our microbiome, all of those things can affect our hormone balance too. So it's our general health and happiness, and that tends to improve your hormone balance. It's more of an effect than it is a root cause.
So on to the next question now. So I sweat a lot. What can I do to stop?
Well, it depends whether if you apply this from a medical answer, there aren't a lot of things that they can do to help it. Medically, they use injected Botox, and they used to cut the nerves. They don't do that anymore, which is good as much. But we would say from a kind of Chinese medicine point of view, there are several conditions we see that cause sweating. One of them is a lot of heat. If you're really, really hot, that gives you an idea that it makes you sweat. And there are certain things that make you hotter. One of them is alcohol. Another one is really heating foods, really spicy foods. There is an argument that caffeine can do it, I think.
That's what I would definitely say, because I would say that, this was a problem I had when I was younger, is that I would definitely oversweat. But also we found out that I couldn't process caffeine at all. Stop the caffeine, the problem just went away.
And again, sugar and diet, heating, an unprocessed diet, you'll sweat less. And as well, the sweat won't smell bad. I think the smell of the sweat actually weirdly changes if you eat better food, because it's a way of you detoxing again. Sometimes actually, strangely, saunas can help as well by opening your pores, by getting used to have more natural sweating, more sort of therapeutic sweating. Then you can actually find that the sweat level tends to go down. And I think it's a smell thing. I think if you improve the smell of the sweat, it doesn't bother people quite as much in most cases. Some people have anxiety, nervous sweat. So working on stress levels again can be really helpful there to reduce anxiety, reduce fear.
Can some of it be hormonal as well?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you get the hot sweats and the night sweats with around period, and that's where you think about hormone balance again. And our hormone toolkit's not quite ready yet, but when it is soon, you'll be able to go through that. And I think you could think about progesterone levels. You could think about working on those cortisol levels, those stress levels again. And coming up to menopause, there are lots of herbs to help support menopause and the sweating that goes with that.
Perfect. Next question. My father has just been diagnosed with Alzheimer's. Is it the same as dementia, and what should I do to help him?
This is a tricky question. We'd probably say that dementia is the kind of global term, and there are lots of types of dementia, but Alzheimer's is the most common cause, and it's caused by these abnormal proteins that we see in the brain. And there are other types like vascular dementia, which is where the blood you get like mini strokes and other things that can cause it. But really, they're kind of similar in a lot of ways that they present. So it can be hard. Alzheimer's can actually only be truly diagnosed after death, but we can make a very good guess from the pattern of it that it's Alzheimer's. And Alzheimer's is, I think, most linked to blood sugar, and all dementia is, as I think most of the research is now showing. So we're kind of looking at it as the third type of diabetes. That means getting your blood sugar, not just so that you're not pre-diabetic, but maybe under 35, your HbA1c, is really important for looking at dementia. It's one of the first things I start with all my patients heading in any of that direction with symptoms. And then we can look at certain herbs and nutrients which can help with that too.
And the HbA1c, that's a test your GP can do.
Yeah, sorry, that's a test your GP can do that sort of looks at your blood sugar over a window of time. I think that's really important. Then obviously the omega-3s are really important. We like krill oil. We're really keen on that one. I think because your brain is so dependent on DHA, that omega-3 really important. And alongside that, we would also maybe look at some herbs that support brain function. Bacopa is a really beautiful herb that does that. And again, sorting out your microbiome, we know the gut and the brain are so linked that I think you have to think about whether gluten could be impacting your gut, and that has been shown and linked to brain fog as a symptom. So you do a gluten-free trial, completely gluten-free for 3 weeks, and see if it improves. Work on your sugar levels, work on your gut health. That will also be a really good part of that. But it's a complex condition. You can start with the supplements, but you have to do a lot of diet work too, because it's an end stage point.
Definitely. And that actually goes on to one of the next questions, which is if you have some stress and anxiety and you're finding it difficult to kind of find some words, you're a little bit of word salad, and it's creating some brain fog, what would you do to try and address that?
So I think stress, we know, stops our brains functioning. They've done some really interesting tests on mice and rats where they have put them in maze, taught them how to go through it. They've been perfectly able to get through the maze to the other side very quickly. And then they make them really stressed, and then they try and put them in a maze and they don't even know where to go. So they lose their memory and their function. And I think exactly the same thing happens to us. We can feel when we feel stressed. We get really inefficient. We're really overwhelmed. We start making lots of decisions. We can't process anything properly. So I think some of it is doing relaxation work to bring those stress levels down, and doing the meditation, the mindfulness is shown to improve cognitive function. I think then it's looking at your diet and your food. Your sugar levels can make a big difference. And I think, again, I might consider one of the herbs like Bacopa, really nice herb. I'd consider a good multivitamin just to get your energy levels up and help with the nutrients. And a lot of the time, it's doing a bit of time management, a bit of work, maybe some coaching, just to get yourself back on track, to stop the overwhelm that's creating that stress in the first place so that you can't think straight.
Yeah, I would definitely just highlight the gluten again as well, because I mean that's the first thing we notice. We don't eat gluten, but if ever we do, it's always the fact that you just can't think straight. It feels like someone has literally just fogged your brain.
So you put cotton wool inside my head. I think last time it really brought it home to me was we were naughty and ate croissants, and I felt for 3 days afterwards like someone. It actually literally felt like I wanted to take it out. It felt like there was cotton wool in my head. I couldn't think properly. I couldn't work as well, and I didn't think I was having that bad a reaction to gluten. I don't really get digestive symptoms, but just that difference really showed me that actually I don't want it in my life.
Just making sure really with the brain fog that we are looking at supplements, looking at diet, managing our stress levels. It's just looking at all those together really.
Yeah, and considering gluten.
Definitely. Right, on our next one. So why does red wine give me headaches?
I think, well, there are lots of answers to this, but likely it's in Chinese medicine, red wine is very heating. So the heat can do it. It can rise up. The heat rises up and upsets your head. You kind of feel it. You get kind of flushed when you drink red wine, more so than with other alcohol. We don't really drink much anymore, but I would say that red wine is one I really notice. I'm quite hot anyway. That would make me super flushed. And then I get this pounding headache. I think if you're a hot person and you drink red wine, it's not the best thing to have. Pick a slightly better alcohol, maybe like a gin and tonic. It's a bit more cooling, and bitter. So the bitter things make you cooler. Put it with some salads and other things. It brings that heat down. There are obviously toxins in it, and some people argue that the more natural, the organic red wines and other things don't give you as much of a headache. They don't cause as much of a problem, and we don't really know that, but it seems to be that that's the case. I have a lot of patients anecdotally will tell you if they drink organic red wine, it doesn't cause a problem. Same with beer. If they don't have it through all the processed pipes, that they don't get those same hangover effects. So I don't know whether some of it is toxin related. Obviously alcohol, you get some dilation as well in the blood vessels, which can mimic a migraine, so it can bring it on, things like that. It's actually got some polyphenols and some really good antioxidants in it, but they don't really outweigh the toxicity of the alcohol your liver's having to deal with. So red wine is fine, but there are lots of other ways to get those antioxidants, and maybe we always want it in moderation.
And on to the last question of this set, and that is, do essential oils really work?
The literature actually is pretty good on some of these now. It didn't used to be. It used to be that everyone was considered sort of a crazy aromatherapist, but we've used essential oils. The first time I used them was when I was possibly, how old was I?
You were 17, 18?
I was maybe 17 at school, and I won the
Yeah.
AstraZeneca Science
You
Prize
did.
at school for spending my entire lunchtimes for nearly a year putting lavender and tea tree on different bacterial plates and showing that nearly all of them were inhibited by lavender and tea tree, and how amazingly powerful compared to other antibiotics and other things they were. Now, obviously, we can't take them internally in this country anyway, but there's some benefit, arguably.
You
so
won,
we tend to.
You did win that award.
I did win the award, and yeah, I got to go and meet some weather lady from ITV in Wales somewhere in Cardiff. I won £2,000 for school, but what that showed me was how amazingly powerful they really were, and that started me on a course to loving them. And I've always used lavender. You know, if ever I get like a wound or an infection, it's one of the safest oils. You can put it on your skin on a wound, and it's fantastic. You know, cellulitis, I think, would be stopped if people had lavender in their house a lot of the time. If you get like a bite or a sting, or even if a cat bites you or a dog or something, you put it on, the redness and inflammation go, it soothes it. It's also like a medicine bottle, you know, of a essential oil. You can find that if you put it on your pillow, there's some really great studies now showing it helps brilliantly for sleep, just inhaling it. So put it in a diffuser. We also really love a concoction for coughs and colds.
Brilliant. You came up with this concoction. Honestly, it's unbelievable if you have a cold.
Yeah, we use a lavender 12 drops in it. We use diffuser, one of those plug-in diffusers. We put 12 drops of lavender in. We put 6 drops of tea tree in. We put 6 tea trees, again, antibacterial, antiviral. We put in eucalyptus, which don't use if you've got pets, or just keep it very, very low and just check they're okay. But eucalyptus kind of opens your airways, makes you feel it's a decongestant, and it's got some interesting research behind it too, which you can find a little bit on Adio. And then I like camphor, which is a weird one. It's made out of mothballs, but it's a really great bit of a decongestant. So people really love it for stopping them coughing and also for clearing up their snotty nose. So we love them, and there are so many more uses of them. You know, some of it has good evidence, some of it's anecdotal, but I'm sure if we did more research, we'd find out they're really powerful. They're ultra concentrated herbs, and I rather love them. So
they're absolutely brilliant. I mean, that concoction, if we put it in our diffuser at night, if you've got a bit of a cough, it just stops it. It makes you sleep for hours
and get better.
It really is phenomenal.
Yeah, and we've used it for everything, from every flu and cold and cough, and even through COVID infections for people. They found it helpful.
There are also some that also change your mood. So, I mean, we make some creams, body creams, and it's got things like grapefruit in it. Things are actually very calming. Our face cream, we use rose and bergamot, which has been actually shown to be anti-aging. And actually, by putting those ones in, it's amazing the difference it has. I mean, we have a shampoo which has got the lavender and rosemary in, and it immediately stops your scalp itching. And I went into that thinking, well, do these really work? And came out and went, gosh, these are amazing. I mean, I wouldn't ever change shampoo now, but it's just putting the essential oils in.
And we find, you know, sage is an essential oil, but it's also one that you can also drink as a tea. Works really nicely on night sweats in menopause. They're ultra concentrated herbs, and I think I trust your own body's ability to pick them sometimes too. So if you really hate the smell of one, I wouldn't use it. But if you're really attracted to the smell of one, I think sometimes those olfactory nerves have some ability to pick the one that's right for you. So I think go off feeling for it. You can have a look at the contraindications. A few of them you should be careful in pregnancy, and I think other than that, there aren't many other contraindications. And actually, you can use some of them to bring on labour. There is an argument that clary sage can do that. You know, there's a few of them that are interesting, and I use them around that time. It's a choice, really. So I think essential oils are fantastic, and they're a great addition, and they're natural and smell brilliant.
Perfect.
So I think we have some more questions. We have my hands and feet are always cold. Any advice? I think, do you want to start off?
My hands and feet are always cold. Any advice? No. So I would say the best thing I've ever done for hands and feet that are cold is always ginger. I generally run on the cold spectrum, I would say, with my hands and feet. My body's always quite warm, and it must be a circulation issue. But I find by putting a bit of ginger, a little bit of lemon into some warm water and drinking that, it's like someone changes exactly how my circulation works. All the fire from my internal side comes straight into my hands and feet, and it works perfectly.
Ginger's a great herb for that. It's a really warming herb. It'll really help, and it's a good circulatory. And I think you can also consider other circulation-based herbs, things like ginkgo biloba also could really help you there. But our actual favourite one, I think, is not even a herb. It's a sauna. We're still really into the saunas. Yes. I think using a sauna regularly is magical for people who have circulation problems. And I think we show that from the people who use them, you know, in the nation, you know, nationwide, the Swedes and everyone who use them regularly. There are a lot of health benefits to saunas, but I think circulation is the one we notice and we can really take from, because it's so damp and cold here. You can antidoting it with very hot and very dry. But for circulation, if you talk to anyone who struggles with it and they use a sauna regularly, they'll find it magical. So
I think getting over that barrier, though. I do find people who have the worst circulation are the ones who are the most adverse to wanting to use a sauna. And it's because you're so on the damp spectrum. You have to go in there and just go in there for 2 minutes. Go into 2 minutes and just work it up minute by minute. Don't feel you have to go in there and listen to the advice and go 15 minutes straight off.
It's hard. You have to build up tolerance. You do have to build tolerance. And I mean, there are things like the sauna bags, which are expensive, but you can think about for home if we ever get stuck again at home. But I think the sauna's an option. And I think along with that, using those circulatory herbs and other things can really help you. And being careful a little bit. You can, if you're on the cold side with cold hands and feet, you can often use more heating things in your diet as well. So again, don't have lots of cold and damp food. Have warmer food. Try and cook your food and have lots of soups and stews. You can put a little bit of chili, not too much. That's a bit strong sometimes for some people.
I go crazy with the black pepper.
But yeah, pepper and other things. And they'll all get you going. Turmeric actually can really help you too because it's quite warming. So I think consider all of those things. And yeah, I think sauna's still my top though.
Mine's ginger, but that's okay. On to the next one now. So is CBD good for anxiety? Ooh, we do love a CBD drink.
We do. And I think I wrote an article recently for Adio, I think at request, because there's just so many people talking about CBD products. And I think CBD actually was also a Chinese herb, but used as the whole cannabis. It's the CBD is the medicinal portion, the arguably not the hallucinogenic, not the one that can have the drug-based reactions that we're all aware of. That's the THC component. The CBD is considered the medicinal part. And I think if we look at its herbal traditional use, it had that calming effect. It helped sleep. But it was quite a strong herb considered then not to be used too much. But that was probably because of the THC. We see CBD actually doesn't have loads of research at the moment. Its strongest research, I think, is in epilepsy in children. If you look at the research itself, there is some evidence it helps anxiety a little, but it's mostly animal studies that we're seeing that in now. And it does have good animal studies, but we don't have enough large-scale human studies to say. I would say anecdotally, it's quite safe taking the CBD form, and many patients really think it helps sleep. They really find it helps anxiety. I've tried it, and I think I'm already reasonably calm, and I think it does help.
I'm definitely more on the anxious spectrum, and I would say it definitely helped. It was very, very good. But also, it depends on what format you have it in. I really do find that just having a CBD drink. I mean, we don't drink much alcohol, but when we go out, if they do offer a CBD drink, I will always take it.
One of the natural ones with no artificial additives, and they're actually pretty good. And you want to aim for about 15 milligrams, I think, is a good starting point to consider. Now, it's a bit cumulative CBD, so just try it for a week and then maybe 2 weeks before you even think of increasing it, because you can overdo it a little bit, and everyone has their level that's right for them. I think ideally you should do it with a practitioner with some advice, but I think CBD can be a really promising product, and especially with anxiety, sleep disturbance, sometimes pain, you might argue it. I think it would be really worth trying and seeing how you went, because it certainly can't do any harm, and the other products are much worse. The medications can be really nasty that you have for those. They can have some quite bad side effects, so it would be definitely worth it.
It's also quality as well. When you're getting CBD, it's becoming very popular at the moment, so unfortunately that means that some of the quality isn't quite as good, and they're not all created equal. And we like one of the ones that's actually made in Amsterdam, and because they've had access to cannabis for so much longer, they do have lovely organic strains of CBD. You don't want any of the chemicals.
And actually, there's a great company here that do it, that get it from, I think it's from Spain, but CBD Brothers, they call themselves the Original Alternative, another one. They're also a fantastic website and a really nice resource, and they'll talk to you on the phone about it. But you want to pick that reliable source. And I think it's a good thing to try. I think there's no harm in trying it and see how it works for you. But obviously, don't continue it if it's not working. And if it does work, great.
Perfect. Oh, I think this next question's for me. I've been told to put heat only on my stiff neck, and I've been told to put ice only on my stiff neck. Which one is it? This must be a question I answer 40 times a day. The answer is always ice. So ice is an anti-inflammatory. So if you ever sprained your ankle, you would always want to put ice on it to reduce the swelling. It's exactly the same if you have neck or back pain. If you have pain there, it's because it's swollen, it's because it's inflamed. And like the name inflamed sounds, it's hot. Don't put more heat on it. You put ice on it, it's going to calm the inflammation, it's going to make you feel better. The problem is we are warm-blooded. So when we put heat on, we feel naturally soothed by it. So you feel that soothing reaction of putting heat on, but actually underneath it, your joints are boiling. And 2 hours later, you're going to end up with more pain. So I would say always ice. The only caveat I put into that is in winter. In winter, at this time of year, I would say if you're talking about your neck, still put ice on it, but just a little bit less long. So 20 minutes is what I would use all throughout the year, apart from probably the first 2 weeks of January, where I'd say just put more like 10 minutes on. But listen to your body. You'll know when that period is. You'll listen to it. You'll basically put the ice on. You'll think, I'm fed up with it now. It's been 10 minutes. Just take it off. But never heat.
And if you love the heat, then the idea is to maybe ice it, and then the sauna again improves circulation all over. And a lot of people find that improves joint pain because the circulation improves generally, rather than put it in a concentrated area. So I think you could use a sauna and also then use your ice pack regularly on the joints that are sore.
It's a bit like a bath, really. I don't actually have a problem with people having a hot bath, but afterwards put an ice pack on your neck or back, because then you've heated up your body globally, but then ice the area that actually hurts.
we're on any natural remedies for cold sores now as a question. And I think, well, that's probably me. So I think lavender, we just talked a little bit about lavender. Lavender is one that you can use neat even on broken skin. So if you even feel that tingle coming on, put lavender on it straight away. That will often have that antiviral impact. Also consider that cold sores only come up when you're really run down because your immune system's run down. So you do some immune system boosting with vitamin C and zinc is a really good idea at that point to try and stop it. So, and that will calm it down. Actually, I go homeopathic at this point. Definitely, I go back to my homeopath roots. And I would say that the remedy Nat Muir 30 is a fantastic remedy for cold sores, and about 80% of people it's rather life-changing. And you can just take a dose of that, take one daily, and a lot of the time that'll either stop it or really shorten it or improve it if you've got one already. And I think there are a few other herbs that are absolutely fantastic for it that work really well. There's one in our lip balm that we make actually for one of our the cosmetic side that actually works quite well, called All Heal, that actually has been shown to improve cold sores. But yeah, I would go with boosting your immune system, reducing your stress, and using some lavender, and then Nat Muir. Consider Nat Muir the homeopathic remedy. It's great.
Perfect. So that's everything for today. We have slightly run out of time now, but at the same time, we will try and get round to all these questions. Now, these AMAs are things we're going to do regularly. So anyone who didn't get the question answered today, we'll add that to next time, and we'll try and always get through them here at ADIO, always looking to answer as many questions as possible. If you ever want to ask us anything, please feel free to send us an email. I'm always try and consolidate those to write any articles, especially if they're common themes, especially if they're seasonal. Yeah. But thank you very much for taking part, and we'll hope to see you again soon.